Borderlands 4's first bounty pack, How Rush Save Mercenary Day, has dropped yesterday, and there was promised 4 pieces of rerollable gear, and I'm happy to announce that there's actually more than 4. Even in their update, they say there's 4 pieces of rerollable gear, and that is the Vault Cards items here, which you can get the Royal, Rooker, Hardpoint, and Missile Laser. But there's also 2 other weapons. I'm lucky to get a phosphine of it already, with the Inscriber pistol and the Rowdy Rider Jakobs assault rifle. Now, nothing here as crazy as the bod or the hot slugger, but they all offer a fun way of playing. Now, I'll first start off with the Rowdy Rider here, which is a Jakobs one, which has 2 extra projectiles on critical hit. So this ricochets really nicely. This would be great on a Rafa ricochet build, as you got a lot of ricochets for this. We also have the Inscriber here, which spawns 4 projectiles behind the enemy. So this is great if you're trying to get piercing damage through, and it's a tediore, so quick reloads, and it'll explode shooting at enemies. The one that I'm most excited for is the Rooker. Now, it fires 2 needles that constantly home in on enemies that you're aiming at. It kind of reminds me of like Yondu from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think it may be a reference to that as Rooker, Michael Rooker, the actor for them. So I'm not sure if that's the intention, but that's exactly what I felt while using this gun. And the Hardpoint Torg pistol, which is kind of an interesting one. Hard to use, however, but it does have sticky gyro jets that explode on reload or when switching modes, which are usually pretty good, but it's a little harder to use. As you can see, it's actually best used at like a longer range there, as the rounds you see are not the easiest to aim. You're best off at like a 50-meter range almost, as yeah, it's not an easy thing to hit with the enemies. But I can see this being good because each of the stickies will increase the gun damage by 5%, and that is going to make it so that it will give it a huge boost to its damage if you're able to get a bunch of shots off on the enemy. I could see this potentially being good against the invincible bosses. And here's the Rooker. It's an order sniper rifle, which is tough because you have to charge up the shots, but there are some really good enhancements, and I can see this one actually doing crazy amounts of damage. It doesn't ricochet, but it hits extremely hard, as you can see there. And here are the missiles. We can launch those off there, which you can see are just going to home around wherever you're aiming at, which gives it some pretty insane damage. Yeah, this is a fun weapon to use, just because you see those needles rocking around there, going after whatever you're targeting. So yeah, pretty fun, and they do shock damage, so that's great for destroying shields if you want to get a jump up on a boss. So yeah, I'm experimenting with this for builds right now. I can see this being a very powerful gun because order guns in general are pretty powerful, and if you can charge them up all the way to 5 with some enhancements, they boost the damage up by like 30% and also the charge rate of them. So yeah, it ragdolls, it does pretty solid damage, and the missiles are just so cool. I'll shoot those off again because it's just a really fun thing to have going off at the enemy there. So yeah, I think it is a little bit bugged. It does disappear from my experience, but pretty fun weapon overall. Now, the Rowdy Rider, it seems good on paper, but I just haven't found something that it may be good on really like a aim-on cryo build, but it has additional projectiles. So 3 projectiles are going to be coming off because it gets a +2 on top of that. So yeah, you can see here, like the damage from it it's okay. Jakobs guns are usually pretty powerful. I can see this potentially being good on specific builds, but smaller magazine size of only 18. Kind of reminds me of the Bonnie and Clyde, but the Bonnie and Clyde melts a lot faster and doesn't have the cryo damage on it there. So on certain builds, I could see this being a pretty decent weapon, especially if you're mobbing because of all the ricochets you'll be getting with this. And I would say that the red skill tree for Rafa would really utilize this weapon. So yeah, it's an interesting one, just lackluster damage. I'm glad I was able to get a phosphine of it already because phosphines are now shared account wide, but nothing spectacular. I'm not really spec'd for it right now, but I don't see this being a gun that's like super devastating overall, but probably a fun one nonetheless. And last, we got the Inscriber here. I was also lucky to get a phosphine of this one with 4 projectiles behind them. I've rolled for a bunch of different rolls of these. Like I do have multiple of them. Like you can get a Cov license magazine, Daedalus license, putting the sniper rifle ammunition on it. You can also get underbarrel shotguns. You can get there's other underbarrels that you can get for this, a Hyperion license shield on it. I got the hand crank for firing fully auto if you wanted that one. The Hyperion grip. Ripper magazine. So there's lots of enhancement or choices you can get on this, but nothing really outshines just the one here. Another thing to consider too is there's actually a secret secondary stat for critical hit. You have to inspect the gun to see that, and it can have a negative critical hit value. So yeah, you want the one that's obviously going to have the higher critical hit damage. It does have a bit of a harder time rolling, but it's worth it. And the Inscriber here does get a critical hit modifier there too. And here's the Inscriber pistol. I'm not sure where best this was used, but it basically spawns 4 projectiles behind the enemy. When you throw it there, it'll explode. I mean, it does okay damage. Nothing crazy, but maybe in the future or on specific builds or with certain enhancements and firmware, I could see this potentially being decent, but you see it there. Yeah, it's not crazy for the damage output. There's a lot of better pistols there. And even if you just wanted to go with a, like, chucking it, it's not really that good for that type of damage either. You're better off using the chuck assault rifle. So also working on unlocking the missile laser as well as the royal, but I think these two are going to be the more powerful ones. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but nothing really insane here. I just think across the board are pretty fun new weapons that could potentially be good later on in certain builds and instances, but decent nonetheless. Let me know your thoughts though in the comments. I hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you all in the next one.